Today's best music.
Magic 89.9.
Welcome to our show. It is the chat room on a Tuesday, June 23. Hello to everybody listening on the road right now on radio, on Magic 89.9, of course, and for those working from home, and for those who are watching us on Facebook Live, and through our Magic website, and through the Kumu app. We got you all covered. Welcome to another episode of the Magic Chat Room. My name is Boom Gonzalez. Today is very special. We finally have her on the show, DOT secretary. We've been chasing her for a while now because she's very, very busy, but we're so happy to have her on this edition and this episode of the Magic Chat Room. Secretary Berna Romulo-Puyat is with us. Hello, Secretary.
Hi, hello, Boom, and hello to all the listeners of Magic 89.9. I told you before we started the show, I really listened to your station, so I'm just quite excited to be your guest right now.
Maybe not as excited as I am or as we are as a station, but we're very, very happy. We're very happy to hear that you do listen to the radio station. First of all, again, thank you for your time. I know you're very busy, especially during this pandemic. I'm sure you're doubly busy trying to get back the kind of work that you've lost in the last couple of months. But also, I wanted to start by asking, before we get to work, I wanted to start originally by asking about your son. But I did see your post that I was going to ask whether you're reunited already with your son, but apparently not yet, Secretary.
No, when the ECQ started, he works in El Nido.
That's right.
Environmental officer. And though at that time I wanted him to come home, I couldn't because we were only allowed to help stranded foreigners.
Right.
So I didn't feel it was right to bring him with us because there were also a lot of stranded domestic passengers. So I said, you have to follow the rules. So he had to stay there. At the start, he was a bit worried because he was saying,
of course,
Mom, I might run out of food because it's an island. Palawan is an island. And then I said, but these are the things that you have to accept. And then finally, May, when we were able to help the stranded domestic passengers, I asked him, can you come home? And then he said, but Mom, I'm not a stranded domestic tourist. I work here. So it won't look nice. And then I started to think, teka lang, baka naman you have a girlfriend na there. Because at the start, he was a bit worried that, parang he wanted to come home and now he doesn't want to come home. But I'm seeing that he's doing scientific research because they're now under a modified GCQ in Palawan.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been parang saving the coral reefs, etc. So, he's enjoying what he's doing right now. He's actually already 23 years old. He's preparing to take his master's, so doing scientific research. So I get to see him only when he greeted me last Sunday, a happy Father's Day.
I saw.
I had to ask, can I see how you look like now? Because I had not seen him before. Oh, I last saw him last Feb.
I was going to ask, so even before the lockdown, because he was already there, right? Working. So since Feb.
He's working there. So of course, when, the lockdown, the ECQ happened, we were all worried. We wanted to be close to our loved ones. But, this is the thing. I mean, it's not right just because, and the irony of it all, it was the Department of Tourism who organized all the sweeper flights.
Right.
So I know I could have included him, but it didn't seem right.
Didn't feel right, especially because you guys are always under the limelight.
Yeah, and then also it doesn't, there are a lot of domestic. At that time, March, there were a lot of stranded domestic tourists, and if I bring home my son, just doesn't feel right. But of course, I already had a plan B, that just in case, because my late husband passed away.
Right.
So he also has heart problems. So I already had a plan B. If he feels any pain, I could, but thank God it's not happening. I could pick him up, but he seems so healthy there. So
And he's doing great work, obviously.
he loves what he's doing. I guess it's a dream for a 23-year-old to be an environmental officer to protect the environment. And he just told me he's doing a children's book on sustainability.
And that's wonderful. Plus, it is along the lines of your own sustainable tourism campaign, something that you've been advocate of.
Yeah, it's always good that when your children follow what you advocate. So when I entered the Department of Tourism, I entered it May 8th. I was appointed May 8th,
Right.
2015. Imagine, I entered it and Boracay was just closed. So I was like thinking, oh my gosh, what a time to enter the Department of Tourism and you close the number one tourist spot in the world. But then it was good because we were able to push an environment of sustainable tourism. That's why Boracay was closed, because we wanted all environmental laws to be passed. And we continued that in El Nido and in Bohol, because it's just basically following the law. Before Boracay was closed, the coliform level was more than 1 million. So, and the
Wow.
acceptable level is 100. So only swim if it's only 100. Imagine people at that time were swimming when the fecal coliform was 1 million.
I know. I was one of them.
Oh my God. And now it's 0 to 15.
Wow.
So you can imagine how clean the waters are. In fact, last week, we went to Boracay and I'm happy to say it's finally open.
Right.
But the governor and the mayor said that they want to only open it first to Western Visayas.
Correct.
So, but it's never been so clean. In fact, the governor told me he grew up in Aklan and he's been seeing sea creatures that he only saw when he was a child.
Right.
How clean Boracay is right now. So
Yeah, wonderful job, Secretary. If I may just say, I was there. The original opening was October of last year, before the whole pandemic, right? I was there towards the end of the year, and I already saw the vast improvement. And I know that this is a long-term thing, that you're doing this for 2 years, not only for Boracay, but for all the other tourist spots. And we'll get to that in a bit. I want to talk more about those things and Boracay in a bit. But just real quick, just going back to your Instagram post, one, it was about your son. The other one was obviously about your father, Senator Bert Romulo, who obviously, along every single father in the world, celebrated Father's Day over the weekend. One interesting thing that I saw in that post is you said that he watches everything, reads everything, listens to all your interviews. So do I assume that he is listening right now, Secretary?
right this moment, he's having somebody tape or taping him because he follows. We were originally 5, but my other sister passed away 2 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
He watches everything we do, the 4 of us. He's like our biggest fan. So he keeps tabs with what we're all doing. And, during the start of the ECQ, I've only seen him twice.
Right.
And first time was June 1, it was already GCQ, and I was allowed to visit him. But I only saw him about 30 minutes. But last Father's Day, at least I was able to at least get to see him at a distance for at least 2 hours. We were able to spend time with him. But it was hard because none of us, because he's already 86 years old.
So you got to be careful, extra careful.
Be careful, and so it was not even 1 meter. I was like 2 meters apart from him, all of us, because you have to be careful. My parents are a bit old, and with this COVID, you really don't know. So it was nice seeing him, and then he was just so excited. Of course, it was funny because even if I had not seen him in a long time, he knew it was happening.
Mm.
He was telling me, "Oh, I saw this interview. This is what you're doing, etc." So, and it was nice seeing him finally face to face.
I'm sure. I'm sure. So happy Father's Day, Senator. If you're listening, he always had a great reputation in government, great reputation, very clean image in politics, and I'm sure that's one thing that you're very, very proud of, and one thing that one of the reasons also why you were installed as Secretary of Department of Tourism going 2 years back, because of that image of yours and the work that you've done for the Department of Agriculture as Undersecretary. And I've been a big fan of your work back then, and the stuff that you did. And it must be so different, Secretary, because that is such, for the DAU, that's kind of under the radar. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. And then you're thrust into the DOT as a secretary, and all of a sudden you're under the limelight. And all of a sudden you're going back to 2 years ago, you're always doing all of these interviews. You're doing all the TV shows, you know, and it must have been such a drastic change from the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Tourism. I'm sure there are things that are similar and things that you took from agriculture to tourism. Maybe the traveling part of it, I'm sure, was one of it. But how drastic a change was it, if it was? And how has your life been, since you just mentioned this is basically your second anniversary? We're over a month, your anniversary, 2 years becoming the Secretary of Tourism. How has it been? How has your life changed since then?
I was with the Department of Agriculture for 12 years.
Correct.
3 presidents, 3 DA secretaries. And when you're an undersecretary, you're basically under the radar, the workhorse. You do everything. And of course, I mean, you do it for your boss, your
Right.
secretary. And then, but and I remember 2012, because I probably visited more than 100 or 150 farms.
Wow.
And going around the country, because that's the only way you get to know the farmers, what they need. You won't be a good DA secretary, undersecretary, if you are just in the office. You have to go out. You have to talk to the farmers. You have to see what they need. And I remember whenever I would go, I would even travel around the country thrice a week. I would take one farm after the other. And then I would remember I was saying, that was back 2012. I was going, my God, this country is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a, of course, going, even the farms are beautiful.
All right.
We got to plant rice, harvest coffee, get to harvest everything, even pineapples, and that's quite hard. Because I like doing things on my own, how to see how they do it. So you really see, when you do what the farmers are doing, you really see what they actually need.
Mm-hmm.
So I've actually harvested everything: strawberries, grapes. But I except for corn, I haven't harvested corn.
Okay.
It's the only thing, but I've done the processing.
You've also tasted some alcohol, right? And I know you are allergic, if I'm not mistaken, but you have kind of like dabbled in a little bit of native alcohol, correct?
All kinds. And then it was so red. You drink a lot of water after, but it's ironic because I'm allergic to alcohol and I don't drink alcohol.
Right.
At that time, 2012, I was already saying, we have such a beautiful country. And the people are so friendly. And in each place you go to, the food is just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so surprised. I mean, even in Isabela, it's not really known as a tourist spot,
Mm-hmm.
but the food is fantastic. The cochinta is tops. The native lechon, organic lechon, is so good.
Wow.
I noticed about the people. One thing about Filipinos, I've never visited a Filipino home that they didn't. Our love language is making you eat.
Offering food.
Even if that's their only food, they will give it to you.
Right.
Filipinos are. And I was just saying, ang swerte-swerte ng DOT secretary kasi it's so easy to promote the country. Not only is it beautiful, but the Filipino people are very hospitable. And then, but then, I like being the DA undersecretary because, it's under the radar. You can talk to people. Nobody knows who you are. And, it's nice. But then when I became the DA secretary, not too many people know I'm actually an introvert.
You're a city girl secretary, and I did watch 2 years ago some of the interviews that you did back then. You were saying that you love the indoors, you don't like going out, and all that. So imagine that drastic change to becoming a traveler in the agriculture department, and then more so now with tourism.
It's like I'm used to like traveling. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody you what you have to do. And then I'm not used to talking to reporters normally. And the DA, the media who used to handle the DA beat,
right?
They know this. Whenever they ask questions, I always say, ask the DA secretary. Because I just like doing things without people knowing. You don't have to tell people. And then all of a sudden, I remember when I became the DOT secretary, and it was weird when I went to Malacanang. I was called by the president not to appoint me. He was more of asking me about Department of Agriculture concerns. We were talking about NFA. I was telling him about rice supply. And then he looks at me and says, "Hey, do you know that there's a vacancy as a DOT secretary?" Then I said, "Yeah, I heard today." And he goes, "Oh, ikaw na lang." I said, "Huh?" And then I thought he was joking. I said, No. Because he called me for Department of Agriculture. And then he said, "No, I know your family. I even had made a background investigation, would you believe? The BI.
Wow.
And you're so clean. You've been in the DA for 12 years. So I know all I ask of you is no corruption." And then I really didn't want to believe. I really thought he was just teasing me. So he goes, "You don't want to believe me?" So we went to another room. And the time Senator Bongo was there and former Senator Sergius Manio was there. And he said, "I want you to meet the new DOT secretary." We thought they were still joking me because they started laughing. So I didn't tell anybody until I posted this espasol on my Facebook page, and Bongo texted, "Congratulations, ma'am." After that, he announced it, that I was the new DOT secretary, and I was like, I couldn't believe. I thought it was real. And then non-stop interviews. Non-stop. And first, it freaked me out because I'm used to my comfort zone. I'm just at home. I do things under the radar. And then now, well, this is it.
Right.
One after the other, when I entered, Boracay was closed, and now COVID-19. Meaning, wow, I would not want any DOT secretary to experience what I'm experiencing, that you are the tourism secretary under COVID-19, where are travel restrictions, not only around the country, but all over the world. So,
but I love, Secretary, if I may interrupt, I love your positive spin on it, because, well, it has hit not only obviously our country, the whole world, and that affects us too, obviously because of foreign visitors and all that. And you were getting great numbers in 2019, great numbers in the first month of 2020, and then this happens, and now you're putting a positive spin to it with the Wake Up in the Philippines campaign, the new campaign that you guys are doing, alongside the It's More Fun in the Philippines campaign, which obviously harks back to the great Juan Jimenez, formerly, of course, DOT secretary. So that must have been tough for you personally also first, and then as a team, to try to put a positive spin. How do you do it? And how would you encourage people moving forward? Because tourism is one of the hardest hit industries for sure.
You can imagine. I just got 2 days ago the new statistics.
The numbers, okay.
The new numbers from employment was from 5.4 million now at 5.7 million.
Wow.
And then our contribution to the gross domestic product increased by 10.8%.
Wow.
Then from 7.1 million, we had 8.3 million international visitors. And domestic tourism has increased tremendously. So our numbers were up. And you were right, last January, our numbers were up by 8.8%. So we were on a momentum.
Right.
And then so this pandemic hit us. And we actually had 3 videos. One was what you mentioned, the Wake Up in the Philippines, because we noticed
Wonderful.
that
Yeah.
People were posting on social media. Though we're in ECQ, I miss, and then they would post a tourist spot.
That's me.
All over the country.
Me too.
Also posting. And then and this is the funny thing. Remember, we were doing for 2 weeks. We were doing sweeper flights for stranded foreigners.
Correct.
Do you know that we have a lot of foreigners who chose to stay in the country?
Really?
They didn't want to come home. They said, "Why will we go home when we're in El Nido?" I remember one foreigner saying, "I'd rather wake up in El Nido than wake up in my own country. I'd rather wake up in Siargao than in my own country. One is in Dumaguete right now." And then they were saying, "We're in paradise. Why would we want to come home?" And then for domestic tourism, people were posting pictures of beautiful images of the country. And it was exacto. We actually made videos for all the regions. So what we did was we just made a compilation, and that's what we would just say, stay home, because that was what the UNWTO was saying.
Right.
Stay home and travel tomorrow. So that's what we did. Stay home, dream,
I love that.
and up in the Philippines.
I love it, Secretary. It is you guys thought of something perfect, because that's what you're doing this last 3 months, imagining, fantasizing, dreaming about these destinations, and then you wake up in the Philippines. It's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then we had 2 videos, but it showed our frontliners. The other video was we used the song of Ellie Buendia, Smile. I asked him personally, he's a family friend. I asked him if we could use it. And it came out. And you know, Ellie was the nicest. He said, no, you can use it for free.
Nice.
And we used it, and it showed the frontliners. And then our second video, we used the song of Bamboo. And Bamboo, it was called Noity.
Right.
We also asked Bamboo, is it okay if we use it? Of course, you have to ask the permission. And he said, no, you can use it for free. The first one, with a smile, was showing Filipinos all over the country. Noity was showing Filipinos all over the world. Now, people were asking, why we're showing the frontliners? Because again, I think one of the best things about the Filipinos are the people. And people come here because of the Filipino hospitality. You can hear Piers Morgan, diba, greeting the Filipinos and saying that they are taking care of our patients here in the UK. And we found out that all over the world, the most sought after are the Filipinos, because of the hospitality, of how they care for others. And that's, I think, of course, people come here because of the sun and beach, the food, the diving. We're the world's best. You know that 2018, we got the award, Best Dive Destination.
Yeah, diving destination, right.
That was the first time we got it. But then I noticed people also come here because of the people. Remember the late Anthony Bourdain?
Right, yeah.
Made a whole series.
Correct.
Because somebody who works for him that was a Filipino.
Right.
So it was just that. So, but and it was with the smile video, in I think in one day it had 2 million views.
Wow. It's brilliant, Secretary. I love it. We're talking to Secretary Berna Romulo-Puyat for those listening on radio, joining us today here at the chat room. I love it for that. Wake Up in the Philippines. I love that you continued to use "It's More Fun in the Philippines." I completely agree with your stand 2 years ago when you said, it's working. Why change it? And I also remember what Secretary Mon Jimenez did say before, that sometimes your work is not about the results that you have today, but it is for results in the future. And I think about what he said, and I think about that, you using that campaign, so it makes so much sense that you're still using it. And all of these things that you're saying, Secretary, are all in line with everything that you've been preaching since the agriculture days, farm tourism, sustainable tourism. We talked about that already. Sustainable and environmental tourism, heritage tourism, culinary tourism, which you're a major advocate of. All of these things are all tied up, and you've been doing it the last 2 years. How have you, if you would give you and your team a grade the last 2 years so far, being the Department of Tourism, what are we looking at here? How would you assess yourself? What are the big wins for the DOT, and what are the biggest challenges so far in the last 2 years, Secretary?
Well, the big wins would be maybe the numbers speak for itself. That numbers have been increasing. We've exceeded all targets. Would you believe that the target for 2022 for domestic tourism was 86 million?
Mm-hmm.
2018, we've already reached 111 million for domestic.
Wow.
So I think it's more, the numbers speak for itself.
Okay.
But it's continuing. And of course, this pandemic is just a challenge for us because we were on a momentum. We were on a high. Everybody wanted to come to the Philippines. And for the first time, I can see, I have to admit, when I was younger, I would rather go abroad than go around the country. But now I love it that millennials or younger people are dying to go around the country. And you can see with social media has been such a big help because it's free media. You can see people just post where they've been, and when they post, people want to go to these places. And I've never been so proud to be a Filipino right now because people now are really promoting go local, travel local, buy local. And remember, well, at least when I was younger, we'd rather buy imported when we were younger. But now everybody wants to wear local. Even
like you, Secretary. You're always wearing local.
Yes, this is from Mindanao. And it's fantastic. It's a good time to be a Filipino. To rate myself, it's more with the numbers.
Okay.
But now the challenge is it's COVID-19.
Is it the biggest so far that you've faced, whether in agriculture or tourism, this pandemic?
Yeah, not only for me, but for the whole world,
right.
And all the tourism ministers all over the world. About a month and a half ago, we had a summit with all the ASEAN tourism ministers. And we're all comparing notes. It's like we're all now making the handbook for best practices on tourism because nobody has it. And every day there are new protocols, new learning. And I wouldn't want the future tourism secretary to go through what I'm going through because from an all-time high, we're now to 0. So that's quite tough. But
it's drastic.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Drastic. But it pains me when I see our tourism stakeholders. We have now 5.7 million with no jobs. So I'm quite excited now that a lot of the tourist spots are under a modified GCQ, meaning tourism is now allowed. So we're now helping them open up, build their safety and health protocols so that people will feel safe and travel around.
Okay, let's quickly talk about that. And this is interesting because obviously I did mention that the rehabilitation of Boracay and eventually all these other tourist spots this is a long-term thing. This wasn't just about the 6 months that initially, which did so well for the island already to begin with, but it's a long-term thing. And you kept saying, even back then, to manage expectations, because obviously the roads back were still being built, although the front and the beach was beautiful. I saw it myself. It was incredible. So this is all part of a 2-year plan. But is there something in you that says also that from an environmental standpoint, for the very least, Secretary, the fact that they had nothing for 3 months accelerated the process just from an environmental standpoint? Nobody using the beach. It must be so way cleaner now, not only for Boracay but everywhere else.
It's they send me pictures. The locals send me pictures. Our tourism people, those working in the Department of Tourism who are based in all our tourist spots, they show me pictures. It's just so beautiful.
Right.
And you know that Boracay is COVID-free.
Right.
The most fantastic thing. And when I was in Boracay last week, I was there June 11 and 12. It was already beautiful when it was closed for 6 months.
For 6 months, correct. Yeah.
Now, it is just breathtaking. But it was just a pity because I couldn't, because there was a storm. Because So it was raining, but oh wow. When people start, because now they're open for Western Visayas.
Correct.
When they start opening to other parts of the country, they will see the most. It's like probably the Boracay when
80s,
it was not Boracay.
70s, 80s, parang ganon.
Born yet. Mm-hmm. It's probably that. And even Bohol, they've been sending me, the Governor Yap has been sending me pictures, dive pictures.
Wow.
Well, the waters have never been so clean. It's like, and then, you know what's nice now with the local government units, the governor, the mayor, they want to maintain it. And though they are under a modified GCQ, for example, in Boracay, they are not in a hurry to open. Mm-hmm. They want to open slow but sure, first to ensure that protocols are in place, that nobody will get COVID, everybody is safe when they get there, that there's a hospital there, so if there's an emergency, everything is set. And it's also, they kept telling me, it's so beautiful and we want to maintain it this way.
Sayang no? Dahil yun nga, natulungan tayo ng bahagya because of the pandemic in a way, natulungan tayo from an environmental standpoint to keep it, to improve on what happened in the first 6 months. So it would be a shame if we lose all that progress. There was something that happened, which you talked about with Karen Davila, I remember, in my old home, ANC, when you guessed it on Head Start, and I saw how frustrated and peeved you were. It was kitang-kita sa camera, Secretary, about the one from Iloilo who flew to Boracay and tested positive, and this was prior to Boracay supposed to be opening, so that was unfortunate. But is everything okay on that front? We're not one step ahead, two step backwards naman dito sa nangyari na to, Secretary?
Thankfully, they arrived before Boracay opened.
Right.
And they only performed at their hotel. But what peeved me was they were government employees. And when you work in government, you really have to set an example. It was sad because when we announced that we were already reopening Boracay
to Western Visayas, right?
Western Visayas, people were so happy na finally magkakatrabaho sila.
Correct.
So yun naman that's why I want to reopen all these tourist spots because of all the jobs that have been lost. Mm-hmm. And no amount of even we give a little money, it won't
be the same.
There a lot of people lost their jobs, and that was just so happy. And you could see even the place where I stayed in, we already have the minimum standards for health and safety protocols, but they went over because they really want when somebody comes to Boracay that they are safe.
Right.
And then as soon as we left about June 12 at about 1 p.m. This group arrived about 5 p.m. pretending.
Oh no.
That's why nakalusot, nakapasok. Doon una nainis na ako kasi nagsinungaling.
May malice, ano? May malice. Yeah.
Para makapasok sila, di ba? Kasi so pinayagan sila. And then number 2, they stayed in a hotel that had no certificate of authority to operate. And they were 28 people.
Oh no.
Tapos nalaman na lang ng isang tao doon, nung nandun siya sa Boracay, na COVID positive pala siya. First of all, pag magpapatest ka, dapat pala naka-quarantine.
Correct.
Yun.
Isolated ka na.
Bakit pa siya pumunta ng Boracay? Nagkalat pa ng lagim. Diba nakakainis eh. Tapos, because of what that person did and what that group of people did, tuloy, there were 24 hotel staff that had to be quarantined.
Oo nga, syempre damay sila.
14. And then nakabalik na sila, they left Boracay on the 14th. So naka-quarantine. Pero yung nakakainis, yung tuloy, a lot of people got scared na baka kasi COVID-free ang Boracay, tapos biglang may isang pumunta doon na COVID. But we were able to contact trace.
Okay, good.
And we actually canceled the accreditation of
You
the
revoke,
hotel.
so na-revoke yung accreditation. Okay.
Mali eh. First of all, they should not have accepted.
Right.
And number 2, bawal eh. Magbubukas pa siya June 16 and kawawa naman yung mga ibang hotel na sumusunod. Tapos yung excited, magbubukas na, magkakatrabaho na sila. So, and I'm happy with Secretary Anyo, tinanggal rin niya.
Okay, so this, right. So this is why it's important. You've been preaching this even 2 years ago when you took over as Secretary of Tourism. This is why it's important to really practice responsible tourism, not just from an environmental standpoint, but even in situations like this. This is all part of responsible tourism because you have a responsibility to everybody around the whole island, for that matter, if you do this.
COVID.
Right, exactly.
You affect COVID, you affect the whole island. Diba, you have to be more responsible eh. Kasi hindi lang yung hanap buhay mo. Yung hanap buhay ng lahat na nakasalalay sa turismo.
Right.
That's why, in fact, Karen was so surprised because it was the first time she saw me that
peeved.
Diba, normally I'm happy. I was so because awang-awa ako sa mga tao doon.
I know, Secretary. I remember watching it and
Diba, dapat sumunod ka lang naman eh. Diba? Pag sumunod ka, para magkatrabaho na yung mga tao. 3 months, for 3 months, they had no job.
I know.
Naman.
Kitang-kita ko nga. Okay, Secretary, to finish our conversation. Sorry.
I didn't realize I was that peeved until people were telling me that the first time they saw me, parang yung
Pikon.
I was controlled. It was controlled.
Yeah.
I was off cam. I was more peeved.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So, which brings me to okay. We're done with the Boracay thing. All is well. All is good. Are you calling Biggie? Is Biggie there? Is your dog there? I knew it. This is our special guest. Yay! I was asking. There you go. Hi, Biggie. Oh, the very famous Biggie. One of my secretary. One of my favorite interviews of you, and this is for a very trivial reason. And I think it was also in my former home, ANC, is when you uttered from your mouth, I heard Biggie Smalls. I'm like, wow, Secretary said Biggie Smalls, Notorious B.I.G. because she is named after Biggie Smalls, your son, right? Named her.
Yeah, my son named. I mean, she's a she.
Yeah,
I have
she.
3 dogs. And then I was asking my son, why Biggie Smalls? I mean, she's a girl. No, Mom, I like the rapper. I mean, so everybody, of course, nobody knows if pugs look like a girl. Of course, I know.
Right.
It's a girl pug or a boy pug.
Right.
If you're a dog lover, you know.
Right.
And yeah, she's really small. So
I know.
and she's just wonderful. She actually loves it. She's just there whenever I have all these interviews. She's just there with me, and she's probably the only one so happy during all this pandemic.
Because you're always home.
Yes, it's the first time that she gets to spend time with me. She loves it, and
She
I,
is.
you know, she, yeah,
Yeah, she is.
and then yeah,
She is adorable, and yes, I just love the moment that it came out of your mouth. She actually said Biggie Smalls. That was very entertaining for me.
yeah. So it's ironic because she's my son's dog, but
Right.
then she's been like he studied abroad, and then he's now in El Nido, so now she's our dog.
And Biggie is very comfortable in photo shoots and in all these appearances. So, how did it change for you, Secretary? The use of social media, which, back then was just about food for you, and now you're using it differently. You seem to be very comfortable already watching your stories, being on cam, doing all selfies sometimes. The use of social media for you, or just social media for you, how has it changed? How have you approached it? And are you super comfortable with everything now? Interviews, guestings, and all these social media attention.
I still have to condition my mind.
Really?
Like it can't be like just instant. I still have to, because I'm really a homebody.
Mm-hmm.
I like being alone, reading a book, watching Netflix, like Korean novellas, or now Modern Family. I just love being alone.
Okay.
It's a shock to a lot of people because they think that I'm so used to people, but I'm actually not. But then with social media, I just have to be careful with what I post.
Mm-hmm.
I used to post just anything. But of course, at the start of the ECQ, of course, I like posting food, but I made it effort at the start not to post any food because I thought it was insensitive. But now I am posting food because it's my way of promoting local food, and a lot of people lost their jobs.
Right.
It's a way of promoting that restaurant, and I really don't post if I don't.
Right.
And it's my way of helping, and I only post local. I only post local food, local coffee,
Yes.
local. And it's my really, it's I now use social media to promote what's best in local wear, local
Right.
food,
Right.
local things. I mean,
Right.
and then with you, it's when you post local, people start to get interested.
Yeah, they ask. They
And-
ask, "What's this? What's adlay? What's all of these things?" Yeah.
And I you know what, with Adlai, that was, we started that about 2012. And at the start, nobody could understand what Adlai was.
Adlay is a grain, by the way, for the listeners. We're talking to DOT Secretary Berna Romulo-Puyat. We're talking about adlay, which is native to us, correct, Secretary?
Mindanao, specifically
Okay.
Mindanao, tribes in Mindanao. And it's healthier even than brown
It is.
rice.
It is. It is.
And then whenever you buy it, you help the indigenous tribes in Bukidnon, in Zamboanga. But now they also grow it in Negros and in Isabela.
Hmm.
And I asked a good friend, Chef Margarita Forres. I gave it to her. I was thinking, it was like such a, I was thinking, how do you promote this grain? Because, people are not too open to change. And she started promoting it, making wonderful things with Adlai.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I'm so happy because at that time when I would talk about Adlay, people would say, "What's that?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Color. And now I'm so happy when I go to a restaurant, they're using Adlay,
Right.
and it's so happy. And whenever they buy Adlay, they help the indigenous tribes from Mindanao.
Okay. Let's talk about quickly. I know you said in one interview, your father said one of the best advice that you got was to just put in the work, stay out of politics, stay away from politics. I remember what he said to you. Is it possible, Secretary? You've been through 3 presidents. You've taught at a government school. You've served.
15 years.
That's right. And then served, of course, as Undersecretary in Agriculture and now Secretary of Tourism, and it is coterminous, obviously, right? If I'm not mistaken, with the president. Is it possible to stay away from politics?
Yeah, when I think about it, when you add 14 plus 13 years, I've been in government for 27 years. So,
Wow.
as long as you do the work, you just have to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
You do it because you love it. You
Mm-hmm.
do it because it's what you have to do. That's why I think I was able to be undersecretary for 3 presidents under Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, under Pinoy,
Pinoy, yes.
and Duterte, and they were all against each other, and I was able
Right,
to
right.
stay.
Yeah,
As long as yes, they were all not in
you're
the same
right.
administration. I think my advice is to anybody in government: don't politicize, don't you do your work, because government work, you have to be apolitical.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you do it right. And then, for example, in the DA, my mandate was to help the farmers. Just help the farmers, even if they're help them irregardless of politics.
Right.
Even now, you help the country. It's not the problem. You know what I'm happy about this president? When I asked him, I've been consulting with the stakeholders, and they all want me to continue the slogan, "It's more fun in the Philippines." But I have, and I told him, I have to remind you that "It's more fun" was started during the time of Mon Jae,
Yeah.
previous administration.
Right.
Is it okay if I continue? And then he said, "Yeah, of course. I don't care about politics. You continue it because it works."
It works. Yeah.
And I remember before we launched it in public, I presented it to the cabinet,
Mm-hmm.
and they all loved it. And it was so nice because normally when there's a new DOT secretary, there's a new slogan, because you have to, because you don't like to use the old one. But the president didn't mind that it came from the old administration. For him, it works. There's continuity,
Right.
and that's how it is.
Yeah,
We
because for other countries, Secretary, they've been using their slogans for many, many years.
Malaysia, truly Asia,
Right.
India,
Right.
all administrations, and I'm happy to say that when we continued it, when I actually asked more of, like I said, is it okay if I continue the slogan of the previous administration? And he said, okay. It wasn't an issue at all, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy about that.
And we are very happy about that too. Secretary, I'm a foreigner. I meet you in another country. I ask you, why do I go to the Philippines? Give me 3 top destinations, 5 if possible, and why? Tell me.
Depending, if it's for diving, it should be El Nido, Batangas, or Bohol
Okay.
for diving,
Okay.
or Siquijor.
Oh, Sikihor. I love Sikihor. Yeah.
If it's for the food, it would be Pampanga,
Mm-hmm.
Negros Occidental, Negros
Mm.
Oriental, Davao,
Mm.
fruits. Sorry, it can't be just 5. It really depends on what is there. If it's for sun and beach, Boracay.
Especially now. Yeah.
Siargao for surfing.
Correct.
If you want to go for surfing, it could be Baler, Siargao,
Mm-hmm.
and even La Union.
Of course. Some spots in Zambales and La Union are good for.
English is second language. It would be Cebu would be number 1, and Baguio. That's where people are Koreans and Japanese come here to learn how to speak English. English is second language. The number 1 is Cebu.
Right,
Number
right.
2 is.
Okay. Okay.
It's practically wow. We have 7,641 islands. Everybody thinks we have 7,107 islands. 7,101. We have actually 7,641 islands, according to Namria.
That's the latest number. Yeah.
The latest, and now the beauty of it, because we have 7,641 islands, we have islands that are COVID-free, meaning foreigners or another country that is also COVID-free can go directly to that COVID-free island.
Okay.
You can have travel bubbles or travel corridors.
Right. Speaking of foreigners, Secretary, what are the top tourists and who are you still trying to attract? What nationality are you trying to bring into the Philippines that probably are not like the Koreans or the Chinese, right, in terms of the numbers?
Well, the number one would still be the Koreans.
Okay.
Later on, we'll be having, we also have the Japanese. Number one is Korea, China, the US, four Japan, five Australia, six Taiwan.
Okay.
But the Europeans, number one would be from the United Kingdom, second Germany, third France. And would you believe that when I talk to our stakeholders, they're all still inquiring about the Philippines.
Good.
They're all dying to come to the country. In fact, the Koreans I was talking to our Korean partners about a week and a half ago, and they were saying, when we're already allowed to travel outside the country, they are dying to die. They are dying to hear. I thought that people would be hesitant to travel. But apparently, because of the quarantine all over the world, they're all having cabin fever.
Yeah.
It's actually, and I also thought that domestic tourism would actually be dead. Because I think the first month of the ECQ, people were afraid even to go out of their houses. But because of we're now under GCQ here in NCR, nonstop people are asking me, when can I go to Baguio? When can I go to La Union? Every day people are asking me, and that's why the wake up video was, people actually even cried when they saw
It's beautiful,
the video. It's exactly what they felt. I was surprised when people are telling me when they cried because that's how they miss the Philippines so much.
That's why it's such a great campaign. Congratulations to that.
Before the pandemic,
right.
People think we shot it it was all pre-pandemic.
Yeah, just to be clear. One last question, Secretary. What is your favorite non-popular or undiscovered maybe destination that you've been to that, you just would tell people, wow, I know nobody comes to this place, but this place is beautiful?
Isabela.
Oh, Isabela talaga.
I only went to Isabela by chance because to go to the Cordilleras, I go via Kawayan, Isabela. It's like a 45-minute Cebu because normally people go by land to go to the Cordilleras.
Right.
But it's easier to go via Kawayan, Isabela, and then within an hour you're already there.
Right.
Isabela has beautiful churches, really fantastic food. They have this noodle dish called Pansit Kabagan.
I heard about that, yes.
It's just fantastic. And the people are just so warm. I'm actually surprised that people don't go there. It actually go by land, I think 9 hours. But, if there are flights, you can easily go there via Tugigaraw or via Kawayan, Isabela. And it's just magical for me. I've been to Isabela probably more than 10 times. And it's just wonderful. The food is fantastic and there's really a lot of things to do.
And maybe after this conversation, for people listening through, Facebook and on radio or through the Kumu app and through the Magic website, they can be curious enough to check out Isabela. Secretary Berna Romulo-Puyat with us here in the chat room. It has been an extreme pleasure. Is Biggie still around? Is she still around with you? But let's last look at Biggie before we say goodbye. And we want to thank you for your time, Secretary. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hello, Biggie. Hi. It's absolute pleasure to have you, to have Biggie. I love your passion. We love it. And us here at Magic 89.9, I'm going to say this. I know you said you listened to us, but I'll say it out loud now that we are at your service for whatever you need from us. Me personally, I know you already have a lot of volunteers who are doing pro bono work for you, even when you started. Count me in, whatever you need from me, whatever you need from Magic 89.9. We're at your service. We love your passion and we love the work that you're doing. Stay safe, stay healthy, and good luck overcoming this current crisis that we have, Secretary.
Thank you for guesting me, and for all your listeners, your viewers. My suggestion is first, stay home, stay safe, like what you said. And even with all the safety and health protocols, it's really more fun in the Philippines.
Dream and then wake up in the Philippines.
And wake up in the Philippines because it's more fun in the Philippines.
It is, it is. Secretary Berna Romulo-Puyat, an absolute pleasure. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully. Good luck and good afternoon and stay safe. Thank you very much, Secretary. And there you go. Thank you for listening to the chat room today, Tuesday. We'll see you next week, everybody.